I have a lot of quizzes over the course of the semester, and my students tell me that I have too many quizzes. So by the end of the semester, they've already been examined on all of the content knowledge. So in a traditional college prep setting, then you have one big comprehensive exam at the end of the semester to say, okay, what have you retained of all that knowledge? Have you been able to keep that 3 months later? I wanted something that brought in their artistic element, that connected them to the reason why they're at this school. The idea of, rather than taking a final exam, since you've already been examined on all the material anyway, now use the knowledge that you gained in biology to do something artistic. Show through your medium, your choice of medium, how you would communicate this knowledge to someone. One, they're producing. They're not only memorizing content or even learning problem-solving skills, but they're actually producing artwork. It lets them draw on the training they've already had as an artist and produce something that is perhaps much more sophisticated than just answering a question on a paper.
So I drew a piece and I had this big brain in the center and I had little branches and other living organisms around it. And because we were learning about the classifications of science, I thought that all living things are like interconnected to each other because they're all living things and it's all organisms. Even though they're like mushrooms, like I think that's connected to like humans and like plants. And I feel like we absorb and like get energy from each other. So I kind of interpreted that and then like mix animals and like human features together. I also thought that the brain itself shows like how things are connected. So I think I tried to combine nature, like the tree, and humans' brain together, and I had mushrooms over it. And I thought of like dividing into sections that could represent it clearly. So I tried to like 50 sketches of different formats and like try to figure that out. My favorite part was, I think, combining humans' eyes and brains into plants. That's kind of like unrealistic in real life. I just learned that my type of drawing style is just making things like unrealistic. And I feel like pencil drawing is like the most fun.
The other thing is that we are an international school, and oftentimes international students might not take biology until the senior year. Biology uses a lot of language. It's very language intensive. They know the content, but in order to express it is challenging. By allowing them to work through their medium, again, they can have something that expresses their knowledge at a much more sophisticated level than they'd be able to just writing an answer to a question. There's a lot of collaborative aspect here. They need to think about the biology content, the rigorous scientific things that they're learning, and then think about what is a creative way to express that. I think the projects that impress me the most are the ones that go beyond, and that could be either the biological or the artistic end. In my class, for example, we learn about amino acids, we learn about the structures of proteins and protein synthesis and how things are built. So I had a group of 3 fashion students who then, for their project, they're like, well, let's research each amino acid. And they learned the chemical structures, and then like, okay, well, where do we find these amino acids? Well, this is particularly important in the blood system, so let's make a drawing. This is their representation of tyrosine because it's got the circulatory system. And like proline is really important for hair and bone, right? And like serine is really important for muscle. So that's much more content than I taught, but they went out and wanted to learn that so that they could use it in their artistic project. Okay, so that's going beyond in a biological sense. And then going beyond in an artistic sense, this sculpture, where the biology is pretty simple, but the skill of casting this and working in this material is something the student had never done before. So they had to go to their sculpture teacher and say, like, this is what I want to do. Here's my idea, so I need to go beyond what I've learned as an artist. And those kinds of projects that make them push themselves in new directions. There's the biology content itself, the nitty-gritty, and then there's 2 things that I think are broad overarching themes that I keep coming back to all year long. One of them is, what is the process of science? How do we acquire knowledge? What does it look like to gather information in a rigorous scientific way? And the other is that biology is the science of diversity, that much more so than chemistry or physics, there's so many different ways of being in biology. And so I hope they understand that and sort of all of the emotional contexts of what it means to appreciate diversity.
First thing I thought of was doing something relating to the sea, and what really stood out to me was jellyfish. The piece really, it focuses first central the jellyfish with the light on it, and the importance of the light is also to really put like a spotlight on it. There's a bunch of little intricate things in the background. There's the jellyfish, there's the polyps, there's the layers and layers, and like the depth to really convey like how big this ocean is. So drawing all the little polyps took a while, but once I had a good like 5 or 6 of them, started like layering them and just like making sure that it all looked good with depth and all of that. I already knew jellyfish was commonly known as the immortal jellyfish based off my research, and I'd known about that for a while. I actually didn't know the full life cycle of it, and doing more research into it actually helped me to understand more of like the life cycle of the cnidarian group while researching this, and I learned a lot more about how polyp anatomy works as well. I hope that people can take away the values of being unique from my art piece. That was the main thing I was trying to show, this one jellyfish soaring up to the light in like a sea full of polyps and other like different jellyfish in the back. This one unique jellyfish is just soaring up. Biology class is awesome. I love the curriculum. In general, like making the art piece, it was super easy to communicate with him and staff about like what I was doing, how the progress was going, like updates, turning it in. It was also like super fluid.
The other end, what does it mean to learn something and then want to learn more, right? What more do you want to get from this? How do you apply this to your art? How do you become a lifelong learner and say, I'm interested in this because it allows me to do this other thing that I want to do? One of the overarching themes for the class is that biology is the science of diversity, much more so than chemistry or physics. Biology is about how many different ways of being there are. This project is one that really impressed me, how much they had internalized that message, but also show the diversity within art. Right. And so they made 6 pieces that go together to form a wheel as a whole, but each piece is a different medium. So this is painting on clay. This is pen and ink, right? And just the drawings themselves would be fascinating for scientific illustration, but they're using it for the greater purpose of showing diversity. So this is a painting, acrylic painting, and then a collage pencil, then drawing with watercolor on top. All together, they form a whole that's showing the vast diversity within the animal kingdom. So this one was a great collaboration between 2 students and their printmaking instructor. So they described the project that they wanted to do. They hadn't done before, so they had to work with their instructor to figure out how they were going to do it, and then plan which of them was going to do which of these and what colors they were going to use. And it was sort of this ongoing dialogue between me and them and their instructor and each other. Talked before about, the changing nature of knowledge, how they need to be able to express themselves in a world that is no longer just knowledge driven, because knowledge is cheap now, right? But what's not cheap is being able to use, understand, manipulate that knowledge. Being able to have the social skills of collaboration, talking to me, talking to their peers, talking to their arts faculty. Any practice they can get in what it's like to work with people in a collaborative environment is very, very powerful for them. These kids have instant knowledge, right? They carry this phone that has all of the knowledge in the world right there. So for them, it's more about, okay, now what do I do with that? Right? I have access to all this knowledge. How do I use it to produce something? What the value added in whatever field they go into is not what they remember, but how they're able to manipulate that information and make something with it. So the value of this project is them using what they've learned to make something new and different and creative. Right? So this is a dialogue between me and the student and their arts faculty. They have to go out and find an arts faculty who agrees to sponsor the project, who looks at what they're making and makes sure that it's original and creative, that it represents the standards of the field. And so that discussion between me and the arts faculty and the student emphasizes how important collaboration is at the school, that they're not just siloed in biology class. And oftentimes they're doing group projects. A number of students will work together. One of the ones that was really good last semester, there was a dramatic arts student and a film major. And the dramatic arts student was using motion, interpret different phyla of animals. And then the film major was capturing that on film, but there was lighting and there were camera angles to go along with what they were doing. They were collaborating as professional artists in completely different mediums with each other, the way they're going to go on and have to do once they leave here.
The very first thing that I thought when we knew about this project was, how do I connect my artistry, musical theater, physical storytelling, and the technical part, which is film.
He looked for me to do the project, and then we created this common language to bring the project to life.
The project, the beginning of it was my idea, because we were just finishing watching phylums from the animal kingdom. Each one evolves progressively, so I really wanted to portray that as like a timeline, all the different types of animal in an evolution order.
Generally, in my mind, my art and my academics were not linked. With this project, I found a way to understand better the connections that can happen and to see that everything in Earth, doesn't matter what, can have some kind of connection with other things. And by seeing that nothing is really separate, it just like changed my way of seeing the world. At first, you don't understand like all those names that phylums and stuff. You don't understand those names because they're just names. The main challenge was to understand those names. At first they were so hard to learn. The solution was by doing it.
Those are not names that you usually hear. So I think the most important thing about this was giving it like a face, a body, and a meaning, something that you can actually connect to, and so you can give that message and give that image instead of having that in paper or like in the computer to actually do it. Science and art can come together and create this different type of way to teach something.
There are many ways to learn something. In the classroom, we have different ways to learn.
True. Yeah. And I would really look forward to have something to do with science in my life, because it turned a switch in me. I've always been so focused on art, and I think biology with Kirt made me realize that biology is so cool. And yeah, I really like his class. When he gave us the opportunity to get art and science intertwined and make this project, it was just like doing a lot of research and trying to embody the thing that we were showing by seeing it, like actually see the progress and all the evolution. One thing is just learning it and then like practicing it in class, outside of class, in assignments or something, and one thing is actually trying to teach it over this art and this media.